Are we doing enough? No. We are not having enough of these conversations. And if we do, we're not consistent with it. Because change and healing comes with consistency. Not just a one-off because it feels cute and because it's some Survivor Awareness Month, but it comes with consistency in creating the spaces and places that a person can say, oh, I know where to go. Now that I am aware of what's happening, I know where to go now to get the healing that I need.
Hi, welcome to the Destitute, Redeem, Restored podcast. And I am Shanicia Stewart. Now, this podcast is about my trauma that I experienced as a child and the unrelenting love of God. Today, I have the pleasure of hosting Miss Chantal Monroe. And that's Chantal as in French. Please get it together. Thank you for being here, Chantal.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so I'm filled with questions, as I was saying before we started. And I want to know, how far can I go?
As far as the Lord leads you.
All right.
Yes.
So Miss Chantal is a trauma-informed, I want to make sure we get it together, trauma-informed specialist, as in she's licensed, okay? So who is a trauma-informed specialist or coach?
A trauma-informed specialist is someone who has been trained, taught, coached to help persons understand the impact of trauma on the brain and body, nervous system, and how that influences how we show up, behave, make choices, think in everyday life. Okay. So it's recognizing that trauma is not just the big events, but it's also what happens to your brain and your nervous system having gone through the big events or small events, and how that now impacts your personality, spirituality, and helping you to get the tools needed to regulate your emotions and heal from the things that would want to set you back.
I like that. That's a lot. It's a whole lot. So, Destitute, Redeem, Restored is about my book. And in this, it's very raw. And it's raw because God said to, because if it was up to me, I would have left out a lot of details.
I totally get it.
And you just made mention of how trauma affects the brain, the wiring. One of the things I said in the book is that your body carries memory. Every part of you carries memory. So even when you want to move on from trauma, it's there. I want to know, in Jamaica, do you believe that we're doing enough to help persons who have experienced trauma?
No. So one of the things that when I started out, I ensured I collaborated, connected with persons who may be in this space like I am. And there's only one other active organization that I know that's spreading trauma-informed care through schools, through companies. And so a lot of us in Jamaica are used to talk therapy. That is going to a therapist, a counselor, and you talk through things. Yes. And you probably get a few perspective shifts and some regulatory activities to help you to cope. But then you can heal the mind and the body is like, wait, I remember this feeling and I didn't like it, so I'm going to protect you, and you shut down. Yes. And not a lot of persons know how to navigate through that, right? And so you don't find a lot of us in Jamaica, since Hurricane Melissa came, they're now realizing the need for trauma-informed care to be a part of healing, separate and apart from, or connected with psychosocial support. So it's no longer just talk, but it's also, how do I get my body to do even though it's telling me not to?
All right, so within the book, I can't wait for you to just go through. As I'm listening, there's a portion in the book where I speak about being intimate with my husband and the fact that he couldn't touch me, even though this is from childhood to teenage years. It remembers. Your body remembers. It could be your back. It remembers. So my next question to you is, what about adults, whether it be male or female, who has experienced trauma, and you're talking about persons who have been sexually abused, how are we able to help such a person? One, and do we think we're doing enough to help these persons?
How do we help such a person? With awareness, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that their bodies keep the score of the experiences that we go through. So I always coin it to wanting to use a bathroom. We feel the sensation, so we have the signal. But because we feel like we're able to hold it, we hold it for as long as we can. And while the brain, your mind might forget that you want to use a bathroom, the body with the sensation quickly reminds you that, oh, but when this reminder is triggered, oftentimes you don't have the choice of, oh, let me run to the bathroom. Sometimes your body's like, listen, I've been warning you, I've been sending the signals, and you wait too long, and I'm just gonna release, whether you like it or not. And to the extreme, you have persons who develop urinary tract infections because they've held it for too long.
Yes.
It's the same thing with trauma lodged inside the body. We get the signals, whether that be racing thoughts, whether that is irritability, whether that is subtle withdrawal from the things that you love, whether that is the racing negative thoughts that come on rapid more than other times. We do get the signals, whether that's somebody trying to hug us, and we pull back.
Yes.
And so our body tells us, but a lot of people don't know how to put language to it. And I find that when you cannot name the thing, it's harder to tame it because you don't know what it is, you know. And some people cast it off as, that's just how I am, it's just my personality.
Right.
When really and truly it's a nervous system response rooted in protection. Because your brain, your nervous system is going to try to protect you from the thing that makes you feel so overwhelmed, right? And so starting with awareness, big step. And then to your second question, are we doing enough? No. We are not having enough of these conversations. And if we do, we're not consistent with it. Because change and healing comes with consistency.
Yes.
Not just a one-off because it feels cute and because it's some Survivor Awareness Month, but it comes with consistency in creating the spaces and places that a person can say, oh, I know where to go. Now that I am aware of what's happening, I know where to go now to get the healing that I need, to have the support to walk through step by step.
My next question, because you're just bowling me. My next question, based on who I am, what I'm studying right now, everything I see now has to do with the law. And for me, one of the things I believe is the failure in especially our justice system to do their portion. So even if something does happen, what is put in place to help these persons get justice?
So I was watching a video done by Lisa Hanno, probably a month or two ago, and she spoke about how the law in Jamaica does not currently have space or recognizes rape outside of the intersection of the male and the female parts. Outside of that, it does not recognize rape outside of that. So somebody could be molested, abused in all different ways, shapes, and form. And unless it's a coming together of the male and female part, it's not that. And so, you see where I say we have a whole heap of work to do, right? And so, that alone will make people shy away from even reporting or coming forward, you know? Or if they do come forward, is years later. And so, until we get to a space as a nation where we have multiple touch points for safety and healing to take place, I feel like we'll just continue the cycle. But that's why we have people like us that's playing our part to advance the whole. Yes, we're getting there.
Policies. If you should, or have the ability to advise those decision makers on policies to help persons who have been abused. So we're not saying it's just sexual abuse, because trauma comes from different places. What policy would you suggest?
Actively creating safe and brave spaces. And what that looks like is having in each company, because right now companies have what they call a employee assistance program, where they get access to psychosocial mental health support. And typically they only have sessions when somebody dies, because you know, of grieving, but make it a part of the policy or those programs where you actively have wellness checkup sessions once a month, every quarter, where you talk about what is regulation, how my nervous system shows up when I get a rejection letter or when I have to prepare for a proposal. So when you create those spaces within those programs and you make it consistent enough, a person will now feel safe enough to go to the sources necessary, as opposed to only when you're feeling like you're grieving or if you're mentally ill, then you know, that's not enough. And so disrupting those programs to include a full wellness check that covers trauma-informed care, psychoeducation, is the first step. Like, it's mandatory that you do a check-in, because when you go to corporate entities, you can find a gym.
True.
Yes. Or you get a card that says you have access to Express Fitness or one of those gyms, right? Nutritional stuff. But when it comes to mental health, specifically trauma-informed mental health, because it's two different things, you don't really find that.
But when persons hear about mental health and trauma,
Call it resilience building.
I think the renaming, especially in our nation.
Rename it, call it resilience building. But it's important too that we do not shift too much from what it is, because people need to know, you know, if it's trauma, it's just trauma. But you can get help. There is help that you can get, you know.
My next question, it's in the book, but in our Jamaican society, and I keep saying Jamaica because in our Jamaican society, one of the things that I find is that victims don't get the opportunity to speak freely without the backlash. How does that contribute to the trauma? There's a scripture in the Bible, and yes, I'm a Christian, so I'm gonna put that in there.
By all means.
It spoke about David's daughter Tamar, who was raped by her brother. And she said the rape was bad enough, but what he did after that was worse. The rejection and all of that. And then the inability to speak because this is the king and the king's son. And so in those times, you don't just, as a woman, just get up go out there and speak. What I find in Jamaica, and with my own experience, is that you're not encouraged to speak. You're going to have to take care of the family, protect the name, this level of secrecy. How does that contribute to the trauma?
It compounds it. It multiplies it. It says, I didn't have a voice when I was going through this thing. And I now don't have a voice at all because the space isn't created for it. I remember when I'd gone through my experiences of trauma, and I remember God saying it's time to speak. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, because unmarried, pregnant with twins, Christian. And I remember when I decided to obey and I started sharing. And one lady said to me, don't you think that you should go to a therapist to talk about all of this instead of sharing it in this space? But little did she know that I'd gone through healing and deliverance. I'd gone through therapy. I'd gone through God's restorative power. And everything that I needed to get to that space, but just to show you that we are not, well, some people don't give us this space to talk about it. And then grace must be given to persons who backlash, because one, you don't know what they're going through, and remember, most of the time a person is projecting or responding from a nervous system response from trauma that they too didn't realize how it has affected them,
Yes.
right? And so you give grace as much as possible and be the change. Talk about it. Because there's somebody, at least one
That we
person
know.
that wants to know.
My next question. I told you I have a lot of questions. And listening to you, you're sending me to keep digging and doing more research because it's so big and it's so vast.
It's layered.
But I'm listening and we're talking about the persons who have transitioned from childhood to adulthood. What about children? Or they're children still. They have experienced it or experience it. And I ask that because while we had COVID-19, one of the things that the Prime Minister, after the series of lockdown, said that he was informed that there are children being molested because everybody is constantly now at home and school was their safe
Yes, I
haven.
remember.
How you deal with that?
This is why as a nation, regulation is so important. When I say regulation, meaning teaching adults about regulating nervous system, we're teaching adults about trauma, teaching adults about the fact that when a child is born from 0 to age 7 up to age 18, important developmental years, you're teaching a child's nervous system how to show up at 25 feeling safe or loved or rejected or abandoned. And the thing with trauma is that once it cements itself in the development brain nervous system of that child, it doesn't show up until they get to adulthood where they are no longer under the shelter of an adult. But life is now demanding of them to show up. And for some of them, they only know how to show up based off of what the foundation was that was laid from the abuse, from whatever traumatic experiences they had when they were children. Because until you teach a child to regulate, they'll just copy, repeat, mirror everything else that has been taught to them. And when you have parents who don't know this information or don't know how to regulate, they'll continue to think the child is stubborn, hard of hearing, talk too much, when that's not the case.
And this is where we take a break. And when we come back, we'll pick up right where we left off.
Yes.
Welcome back to the Destitute, Redeem, Restored podcast. I'm Shanicia Stewart, your host, and we still have the lovely Chantal Monroe, our trauma-informed specialist. Before we get into it, I must big up our sponsors, though, because we need to pay the bills. There is Mr. Jasmine from Jasmine Media. Listen, if you want anything media production to be done, Jasmine Media, call them. Podcast Hub, JA, call them. You need to. And we can't forget Emerge. Emerge for the setup, Emerge for the space, Emerge Multimedia Limited. You're going to need them. There's also SSA Electrical, Plumbing and Construction Services Limited for all things construction. Then there's also Nails in Venice. For my cute nails, you're going to need them too. So, Chantal.
Yes.
We were just talking about how trauma affects children. They're still children. They're not adults yet. And they have to process what they've been through or what they're currently going through. And sitting and listening to you, my brain, and I have to say my brain, I'm going back from memory to everything to say, okay, so where was Shantae when all of this was happening to me? I'm just saying, like,
Also
the
being
person,
redefined. Because I had to go through it too.
the person to talk to, the person to see, because of course there was, I would say you have your school, what you call them, guidance counselors, and they did the best that they knew with what they're trained. But it's a broad brush. Now, sitting and listening to you, I'm like, You know, if Chantal was around, at least it would have come out of me long before I got to that age where everything just falling apart. And so I'm still stuck at the children because that's where my heart is.
And, you know, adults who respond from a place of trauma are children on the inside screaming for help. And so as much as they look grown, I did a speaking engagement and I spoke about how childhood wounds were off his clothes. So as much as adults look grown, they are 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever years that they experience trauma, just showing up as an adult.
All right, so say that again.
That adults are just children stuck in a traumatic experience waiting to be healed.
What you call that? Postpartum depression. Not postpartum, what do you call that thing? Those persons that go to war and they come back.
Post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. That sounds very similar.
Post-traumatic stress is real. The disorder is when you've been diagnosed now with that as a disorder, but a lot of persons experience post-traumatic stress from traumatic experiences and they don't realize.
Tell me about an employee. They're working fine. Or even somebody who is what we would call the upper echelon of society. Women, men, who they're grown. They're no longer children. And some of them might even be overachievers. But things are not okay. Not okay with relationships, friendship, whether it's social or otherwise. Are we saying then that trauma is showing up even with persons as adults who are even successful?
Oh, absolutely.
But they're children inside.
Absolutely, because picture this example. Imagine a child who always comes home and say, "Mommy, Daddy, look, I got an A. Mommy, Daddy, look, I got an A." So excited, full of life, always talking, to be met with the adult who says, "You talk too much. Okay, you're always getting an A, so what?" Consistent, repeated exposure to that type of response is slowly shutting the child down to say, "I'm not enough. I talk too much. I should keep quiet." This child becomes the adult in the boardroom that's, "Oh, I don't have any feedback," because they're thinking that what I have to contribute is not good enough. Or if there's ever a situation where their thoughts are shut down, it's tapping into that childhood memory that said, "The last time I felt this way was when that happened. And because that happened and I felt this way, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to keep my thoughts to myself because it's not good enough." And then when you do that, you're further tearing at the root of character, tearing at the root of identity. And that's why I believe that when you're restoring self, for persons like us who are Bible-believing Christians, Jesus, it's important that you add God to it, because when you are restoring that foundation and you don't add godly characteristics to it, you question, what are you restoring the foundation with? If it's not solid rooted foundation, then what are you restoring it with?
All right, so I just want to stop here to say she has not read the book. I called her. No, I reached out to her on Instagram and I said, "Hey, this is where I am. This is what I've done and I need you." She has not gotten a chance to read the book. And you're reading the book.
Because it's also my book.
You're reading the book. You're talking about the book. Because in the chapters that speaks of the restoration, one of the places or the main area that God has taken me, and I would still say still taking me, is my identity. Because my identity was formed around everything that took place for so long. So when restoration came, which it didn't feel to me like restoration, because why do I have to do all of this? I need to know who I am. Who did God say that I am? So for the persons who don't have that,
They'll continue to attach themselves to everything that gives them a voice or value. And when that thing no longer exists, they find themselves back in cycles, wondering, who am I? Why can't I fill this gap? And so the love of money, fame, recognition, validation becomes all of their identity. But every time that shifts, especially if it's in a person, every time a person leaves or goes or rejects, it's further coming back to the point of there's this emptiness there.
still.
And the cycle continues for generations. Shows up in culture, society, systems, policies, procedures, compounded, layered.
I like that part. When you speak about generations, that part right there. My last question. For the persons who are saved, because we didn't purchase salvation or we didn't work for it. So you can be saved. What about the church? Who persons are there, they have experienced trauma. And what is done is that we broad brush it, spiritualize. But the pain is still there and they're truly going through. And it's either, and there's a place for deliverance. As a pastor, I believe in deliverance. But what about the other aspect? As you said, it's the first thing is to become aware and become informed. As a church, as a body, what is the responsibility of pastors, prophets, apostles? Because these persons are coming into churches. What do you say?
Establish a healing and deliverance unit in your church that works alongside the prophetic. But you see, wanting to establish that, understand too that God is going to search you.
Yes.
That means that whatever unresolved, unreleased, traumatic experience that's lodged in there, he's going to strip you to show you that you need healing from this, because you're gonna need to walk persons through that and relate to, because you can train somebody, to regurgitate the language.
Yes.
But when it comes to spiritual interventions and awareness, God will strip you first.
Yes.
To be able to be that and create that space for members to walk through. And so I really do believe strongly that every church should have a healing and deliverance ministry attached to it, and create such a space in the church that when persons identify that something is happening but I can't really put a name on it, something is happening, I feel stuck, I know what I'm supposed to do but I can't do it because it feels like there's a fight in here, they know where to come to. But no, it just means that the standard for pastors, preachers, ministers would now have to be raised, because it means too that they have to probably go back to therapy.
Yes.
They have to probably now go back to the word of God and ask, reveal to me anything that's in me that's not of you, that's keeping me stuck and bound. And
Or if they themselves as experience any form of trauma.
Exactly, because trauma can make you forget, it can distort your memory in such a way that you don't even remember why, but your body, your nervous system shows up and tells a different story.
I know I said one last question, but what about the persons who say, get over it or don't talk about it?
I would hold their hand and say, there's some things that you need to get through, not over. Because just like this scar on my hand right here, unless I dig up this skin, it's not gonna go away. It's there, but guess what? If I touch it, it doesn't hurt. And so it's not that I've gotten over, but I've gotten through the fact that something has happened. And as a result of something happening, this is now how I respond. However, thank God for God's grace. Thank God for neuroplasticity. The brain is able to rewire itself. Our bodies, God is just so amazing. He made our brain and bodies to rewire itself, which means that you don't have to stay stuck in a loop or a pattern or behavior or thought. You can challenge it and choose something else, right? And so it's not a matter of getting over, because there are some things, no matter what. And I guess that's why there's God too, because if God wants you to forget,
Yes, you can.
He will.
Mm-hmm.
But God is a God of order and process and principles. And so there are certain things, there's some thorn in your flesh that will stay there, but you learn to get through,
Yes.
right? You get through it. And so for those persons who say that, I'd encourage empathy, compassion.
Mhm.
And sometimes that looks like putting yourself in the other person's shoe. And some persons sometimes are not able to do that depending on what they too are dealing with. But the truth too is, if you know that old saying, if you really don't have nothing to say, don't say
Shut
it.
him up.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think this should be the last one. I'm sorry, I am filled with questions. Questions that I truly need answers to. So I believe this should not be the only episode. And because I believe it's a national problem, it's gone on too much where it's just from household to household. But then when you get to the root of things by conversation or just by God saying, you realize it's not a individual, it's not a household. We have a national problem.
Yep.
We
Yep.
do.
Mm-hmm.
And so because it's a national problem, how does a Destitute, Redeem, Restored podcast, Shanicia Stewart and a Chantal Monroe, how do we tackle it from here?
It's interesting that you've said that, because Chantal Monroe, CKM Healing Consultancy, the next thing on God's blueprint for this vision is to create a facility called the Sanctuary. It's where, smack in the middle of Jamaica, you can drive to there and receive all the different modalities of healing layered. And even stay there if you don't want to leave. But we'll be coming out with programs, with trainings, with spaces that embraces layers of healing, such that when you leave that facility and you go back into the different corners of Jamaica, you're coming out healed and healing, because healing is a process.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm happy you said that. Because I'm happy you said that again, because some persons would say, get over it. Or, since you're speaking about it, then you are healed. And I would say, no, I am healing and I'm not where we started. There's so much work has been done, but there's just some things that it's continuous and it may take you into death as far as I'm concerned. But God can get you to a place that you function well and you help others too.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's something that I'm so happy. Did I say that? I'm happy you mentioned the
Healed and
healing.
healing. Yep. You can be healed and healing. Yep.
I really appreciate that. Boy, I said my last question. I appreciate that because recently God said to me, I need you to do an academic paper on the long-term effects of molestation, childhood molestation in women in Jamaica. And I'm saying long-term, and he's like, yeah, remember it affected you? So long-term. And I want you to apply the law and everything to it. And I was wondering, why we're going there? And then he started to show me women who are what we would classify as high society women. They're in marriages. They have children too, but it's not okay. Chantal will have to have another episode. The part 2, we'll have to have it.
Yes.
And I appreciate that you took the opportunity to come, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I should have my notepad because yes, I'm paying attention. I was sharing with Pastor Jason, this is the last thing before we close, that I met Chantal last year. And when I say met, I didn't personally meet her. We were in the same event space, and she introduced herself. And let me tell you, people, let me tell you, you want her to tell you. I want you to introduce yourself like that. Tell them. This is
Okay.
what healed and healing looks like.
Right. My name, I am Shanta Monroe, the CEO and founder for CKM Healing Consultancy. It's where we believe that with a little care, we can help to kindle the mind and body of persons to heal from traumatic experiences one layer at a time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm grateful that you came. Thank you. I want to thank every single person that tuned in to view this podcast, Destitute, Redeem, Restored. You can look out for so much more from us. Remember what I said, Jace Mary Media for all things media, whatever you want, your photo shoot, your podcast, and the Podcast Hub JA. You're going to need them, I guarantee. Whatever the vision is, they can bring it to pass. There is also Emerge Multimedia, see? I'm blessed. I have 2 multimedia companies. I'm just saying that's working with me. There is SSA Electrical Plumbing and Construction Services Limited, who did not hesitate at the call when I said this is the vision and I need some help. There's also Nails in Venice. You're going to need them to get your nails, your pedicure right, and your manicure right. And that's it from us. Stick and stay for episode number 2.